TGIF, it's Friday, PHLY Phillies on Friday.
And that's the show, ladies and gentlemen. We have been FCC striked, and we'll see you all on the unemployment
Friday morning. Welcome into PHLY Phillies podcast. Nice to have you guys here. We've got one of our new producers helping us produce the show today, Brenna, because Tyler's on the other side of the camera. And with Jamie Lynch, as you guys are saying in the chat, having airport troubles, and he's headed to Florida to golf. Well, he's there now, actually. He should be, at least. Golfing in Florida. Tyler Zulli gets to join me, Renee, watching here on the show. Dave P., you are the winner chicken dinner. First in the chat. Nice to have you all here. Dave, Will, I saw Chris in there as well. Happy Friday, everybody. I love that you guys are keeping up with us in terms of baseball, but also in terms of travel issues. I
feel genuinely terrible.
I do. I don't.
That man had a giddy, there was a childhood enjoyment, there was a twinkle in his eye yesterday. Yeah. He's like, I'm leaving, I'm playing golf, this is gonna be, and now he's sitting, he's probably drinking, but
I don't feel super terrible, as long as he gets there in a reasonable time and it doesn't continue to be an all day thing. I've had some horror stories, as long as it's not on that level of you end up spending 24 hours in the airport.
I really hope he doesn't miss his tea time.
I agree.
That's the one thing that I'm thinking about is if he misses his tea time, he's going to be like an inconsolable child.
This is true. That's a great point. And yesterday, Jamie was literally like, listen, guys, as soon as the show's over, I'm out of here. I'm headed to Florida. I got to go pack. And I was like, well, let's have a meeting for an hour and a half. That was a joke. But yeah, I do feel bad now that you say it that way, Tyler. He's got plans, and now, the airport throws a wrinkle into it.
Listen, we've all been unavoidably detained at the airport in some capacity. I was telling you guys a story before the show started today about how when I went to Florida, both down and back, they told us, yeah, we can't start one of the engines. And we're like, what? They're like, yeah, we can fly with one engine, but we can't take off. I'm like, yeah, go fix the second engine.
Matt in the chat is saying, Renee is cold. I am cold. I was
pretty cold.
I am physically cold,
which is why
I don't feel bad for Jamie because he's about to be warm. No, I do feel bad. Hello, Lisette. Hola, ¿cómo estás? I see we got CMIC 62480 here as well. Listen, I definitely have had some issues. I feel like traveling these days is rough. Give yourselves plenty of time. Expect something crazy to happen. I remember my gate got moved for one of my flights, and I had all this time. It was a layover. I was eating. I was drinking. I was hanging with my friend. We were chatting. The gate got moved. There was no announcement. We're just still sitting there like, wait a minute. Time is they didn't call our us to board yet. And then come to find out, we were watching our flight take off from another gate and then moved to another gate, or there was no other flights. The only option was to drive. I was in Florida too, also ironically. It's Florida.
I think Florida's the problem.
It's Florida, because I was in Florida also, and they said you can either go to Orlando from Fort Lauderdale, which is like 3 hours, take a bus there and catch a flight. You can wait until tomorrow. So we ended up going to Orlando on a bus. And there were no buses, and we literally had to schmooze the driver into stowing us on the bus. Get to Orlando, the flight gets moved. Oh, that was awful. God,
sounds miserable.
Yeah. Oh,
so what we've learned from this whole experiment is everything is Florida's fault.
And Atlanta is another one. Do not have a layover in Atlanta, guys.
Atlanta's fault. Not. Apparently Denver's a mess too.
So just anywhere.
I've never been there, but apparently getting through TSA in Denver is like pulling teeth.
The trick is have a direct flight. No layovers. That helps minimize at least one part. But it is also, as we're talking and having fun, It is National Fun at Work Day. Did you know that? January 26th is National... I looked this up,
Who
guys.
makes this stuff
I looked
up?
this up. It is National Fun at Work Day, which is why I figured let's start the show with some fun. We've got 18 days until pitchers and catchers report on February 13th. We've got just 62 until opening day, and we're having fun because it's National Fun at Work Day.
Yes.
So we have to follow that. It's a holiday.
I'm going to start making stuff up, like just random stuff, like because there's National Everything Day. It's
Literally.
like National Donut Day,
National Blink
Have Fun at
3
Work
times
Day.
in a row day.
Yeah, right.
Like
It's funny you say blink 3 times in a row because like the sneeze 3 times in a row thing. That's like my cutoff. If you sneeze twice, you get a bless you. A third time, it's like, all right, knock it off.
You gotta say kiwi.
Knock it off.
All right. Oh, and also CMix62480, you're saying it's your daughter's 6th birthday. Happy 6th birthday to your daughter. That's an exciting, fun age. Hopefully your daughter enjoys her birthday and also National Fun Day at work or National Fun at School Day for her. Yes. All right. So listen, guys, let's have some fun with this because rankings are continuing to drop. And Tyler, we've been talking about positional rankings, prospect rankings. I've been hinting at it. And guys, yes, eventually we will have our own rankings that we put out. But we're just waiting. We've got plenty of other things to talk about. We've got time. So the list comes out. MLB puts out their power rankings, which they already did. That was on like January 3rd or 4th. They had it originally. Like they're just, they're throwing out every ranking possible. But we're here for it because it's fun and it gives us something extra to talk about. So in their power rankings, the top 10 teams, at number 10, you've got the Twins, Rays at number 9, Baltimore Orioles at 8, the Diamondbacks at number 7, the Texas Rangers at 6, Houston Astros 5, New York Yankees at 4, the Philadelphia Phillies at 3, Atlanta Braves 2, and the LA Dodgers at number 1. Now, there's a lot of questions that come out about this list for me because I also was looking at the 11 to 20 rankings, which I will not read for you guys. But in that mix is some teams, the Cubs, the Giants, the Red Sox, and that 11 to 20 group.
I'm not going to read it for you, but here's like half of them.
I'm not going to read it, but here's 5 of those teams,
like
and not in that order. But it's interesting because, first of all, power rankings in January always make me chuckle. Mm-hmm. But I like it because why not? It's never too early to give your predictions that nobody asked for. And then also it makes you wonder about what the league's going to look like this year. The Yankees at 4, the Astros at 5, the Rangers at 6. I think that's actually the trio that has me the most intrigued. And to be honest, I'm pleasantly surprised the Phillies are at number 3. I'm fine with it. I agree with it. But I wasn't expecting them to give the Phillies so much credit.
So I think this is one person's opinion, but this is kind of validating what we've talked about for the better part of like 6 weeks now, is that the National League is currently better than the American League. At least at the top. Yeah. At least at the top, it's currently better than the American League because you have the Dodgers, Braves, and Phillies are 1, 2, 3. And then the next 3 teams are 4, 5, 6. They're all American League, including, just the team that won the World Series last year. Everybody is going to have gripes with this list in some capacity.
Yeah.
I am stunned that they put the Phillies 3rd.
I'm not going to complain about it,
right.
But I'm completely thoroughly stunned as well. And I want to clarify, it's not Major League Baseball's list. It is Joel Reuter of Bleacher Report's list. Bleacher Report has had questionable lists, including putting Kyle Schwarber on the left fielder ranking. We've seen them have some questionable rankings. But yes, as you're talking about, Chris, in the chat, the Rangers coming off of a World Series, winning it all, sitting at number 6 behind the Yankees, the Astros alone. And the Phillies, honestly.
I will say this. If I had a say, my ranking would probably have the Phillies 5th, which still is not a bad place to be.
So what's your top 5 in order?
So Dodgers, Braves, is 1, 2. Dodgers and Braves are the 2 best teams in baseball. I believe that definitively. At least in the regular season, those 2 teams are almost assuredly going to win the 2 most games in baseball this year. Mm-hmm. At 3, I would put the Houston Astros. You acquire Josh Hader. Your pitching staff is still strong enough. The trade stuff may happen. Like you may end up, like we've talked about in the past, I thought that they were cash strapped and then they go and spend $1 billion on Josh Hader. So does that mean that they're going to move Framber Valdez? Does that mean they're going to move Alex Bregman? Does that mean they're not bringing Ryan Presley back at the end of this year? All of those things could probably be true. But to me right now, the Houston Astros on paper are the 3rd best team in baseball, followed by the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
I think that you can't go much lower than 4. I know that Jordan Montgomery is still a free agent. He may not be back. I thought Josh Hader made a ton of sense for them because of the bullpen woes that they had at the during the course of the regular season last year. If you find a way to pair him and Jose Leclerc together as your back end of the bullpen, plus how good Will Spores was in the playoffs, I think you got a really formidable back end of the bullpen. So I would put Texas at 4. And then I'd probably put the Phillies at 5.
Okay. I do feel like a lot of this is very much projected, of course.
Of course
because
it
you're
is.
looking at the Dodgers. Obviously, it's based off of the additions of Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto and Tyler Glasnow. The Yankees, who have already made additions like Juan Soto.
Oh, and by the way, the Dodgers, like the guys that are already there, they're pretty darn good at baseball,
and
too.
Mookie and Freddie, they have a very good team. So I agree with the Dodgers because it's a mixture of what you did and what we think you're going to do.
Right.
And so I agree with the Dodgers should be number 1.
When you say
anybody has any quarrels with that, that's a problem.
When you say there's a handful of guys who could be called the best player in baseball on the planet, and one team has 2 of the 4.
Literally.
That makes a ton of sense.
And the Braves make sense.
Like when you
for
say,
that exact reason
right,
also.
and Ronald Acuna's a third of the 4th.
You have the best players.
When you say who's the 4, like give me the 4 best players in baseball, no order. Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts probably headline that list. Ronald Acuna's on that list.
Right.
Pick a 4th.
And that's why it makes 1 and 2, I agree with you, it makes complete sense. The Yankees, as we know, between Juan Soto and Alex Verdugo, Marcus Stroman, they still are, as reports are indicating, still shopping. I know John Heyman was reporting that recently, looking at names like Hector Neris, Keenan Middleton, Ryan Brazier, Phil Maton, Wandy Peralta. So they're still looking to add some more to their roster in terms of a reliever specifically. They're not done, but I still don't know. I think... Okay, I know I was just reading Aaron Judge is supposed to be batting 3rd, and they're figuring out their lineup and all of that. So, okay, the Yankees are absolutely a top 5 team. But I want to keep the Rangers above them, but I also understand that the Yankees should be, if all pans out like it's supposed to, a top 3 team. So I would even keep the Yankees there. I think my main switch actually would be the Yankees are number 3. I think the Rangers are number 4.
Okay.
The Phillies, I like them at number 5, but I'm putting the Phillies over the Astros. I gotta just take that one. Biasly enough.
That's a personal choice.
That's a personal choice.
Yeah.
I'm putting the Phillies above the Astros, but technically we can actually have the Phillies in my ranking at number 6 behind the Astros.
So here's my thing.
Dodgers, Braves, Yankees, Rangers, Astros, Phillies. Ugh.
Here's my thing with the Yankees. So they add Soto. Judge is a stud. I think Anthony Volpe is going to be a really good player for a really, really long time. It's a really good offense. At least top heavy.
Right.
Verdugo is what he is, and Gleyber Torres is a solid player as well. 25 home runs last year, hit 270. My question is, past Garrett Cole, what does the rotation look like? They signed Marcus Stroman, who has, I think Marcus Stroman's best years are behind him. I'm not saying he's bad by any stretch. I think that his best years are probably behind him. You signed Carlos Rodon to that big contract last season. I think Carlos Rodon is primed to be one of the candidates for comeback player of the year this year because of the fact that he was injury ridden.
I like that.
He pitched less than 70 innings. He had almost 7 ERA for the Yankees last year. It was a rough year for Carlos Rodon.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be much, much better in year 2. But Clark Schmidt is above 4 ERA guy. Nestor Cortez had another guy who had an injury-ridden season after having a good 2022. Their rotation is better than it was at the beginning of the offseason when you add Marcus Stroman and you get Carlos Rodon back. But I'm not sure how good their rotation is past the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I know specifically about the Astros words, Steven Garrison saying the Astros window is closing. I agree. That's why I could make the argument to put the Phillies above them because I feel as though the window is closing. This is a group that hopefully this will be the first year we start to see them drop off as their postseason dominance starts to waver. A lot of people actually on Twitter were having the same issue with the Yankees, where they were saying, how can you have the Yankees so high up and above teams like the Rangers and even the Astros because of that exact thing. The Dodgers, our initial complaint, an area of weakness for the Dodgers was pitching. Without Shohei Ohtani able to pitch this season, the Dodgers, before they signed Yamamoto, of course this was, didn't have the starting pitching rotation that was going to complement the incredible at-bats they would have. They fixed that. The Yankees have not fully fixed that, as you make the great point, Tyler. So I know others were saying the same thing of the Yankees still are, not as strong as maybe people think. On paper, it's an exciting group. Just to even think about Aaron Judge and Juan Soto together, and Garrett Cole, and you get excited about that. But we know in baseball there's more to it.
Yeah, it's funny with the Dodgers rotation you bring up too. This is almost like the prequel to what's to come. Like, because you don't, Ohtani's not pitching it all this year. Dustin May is on the shelf for quite some time. Tony Gonsolin's going to be on the shelf for quite some time. You had to address a rotation for this season, right? And it's why you bring in Glasnow. Right. It's why you bring in James Paxton for 1 year. You had to address a rotation that was full of holes this season because you're probably not bringing Clayton Kershaw back, which to me, by the way, like, I can go on a tangent on that. Like, you know how we have the Alejandro Bedoya conversation in Philly with the Union?
Yep.
Step that up like 40-fold because Clayton Kershaw is a legitimate Hall of Famer. It's so weird to me that there's not like this handshake, low AAV 1 year deal. Something, you know what I mean? So it's kind of weird to me. But they had a bunch of holes this season that needed to be fixed, to be addressed. Next season, when you get Gonsolin fully healthy, you get Dustin May fully healthy, you get Emmett Sheehan gets a year under his belt at the major league level. You have Glasnow, you have Yamamoto, you have Shohei Ohtani to come back. Right. It may go from last year being an injury-ridden, like this team is a rotation short of being one of the great teams ever, to next year in 2025, legitimately the Dodgers maybe being one of the best regular season teams to ever walk the planet.
And actually, Steven, I'm on the same page as you. I still don't know, even with all those additions, and I know we've talked about the Dodgers as a super team, if they're going to pan out come postseason time. It's such a long...
I have no idea if anybody pans out postseason time.
Yeah, we don't know. But it's such a long season. So much can change. So much can happen. I think right now it's flashy, it's easy, it's exciting, and it's going to definitely sell tickets and jerseys and everything else that comes along with it. But come the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if the top rankings and top teams that are still standing look a little bit different. I think a team like the Phillies are great for that exact reason because you already have a group that's played together. You already have a group that's figured out where those weaknesses are, and now it's a time to address it going into next year, whereas the Dodgers, the Yankees, they're still going to have to figure out what do we look like as a team. We know what Shohei Ohtani did.
You love the team element of it.
I love the team aspect of sports. I do, because I'm like, we always in sports just get excited in any sport of just plug and play and it's suddenly going to work. And I'm a firm believer, as someone that's seen it as a player, coach, and a reporter, it doesn't always work out that way. So I'm all for keep this ranking, keep this same energy, and let's see who's standing at the end of the season. Yeah,
Renee, I know you love the team element of things. One of our favorite teams here at PHLY is Bagels & Co. because they give you the best Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly. You don't have to go up 95 or the Jersey Turnpike to go to Jersey and to go to New York to get these bagels. You can get these large Brooklyn-style bagels right here in Philadelphia, up to 20 different types at any given time. Ooh-wee. Listen, they had the seasonal bagels. They were awesome. The different Christmas-style bagels over the holidays. They had the Phillies bagel. They had
it was good while it lasted.
The Eagles bagel. How about the Sixers?
Yeah, there we go.
Joel Embiid dropped 70 the other day. Where's the Joel Embiid infused bagel? But they have every type of bagel that you could possibly think of, and again, up to 20 at any given time, and the largest cream cheese variety as well, up to 30 different flavors of cream cheese and smears. And of course, they will cater to your favorite sporting events. And we're heading down to Florida in just a little bit. We're thinking about the warmer weather. Maybe we'll get a spring training or opening day type bagel for the Phillies in just a little bit. And they are an affordable brand as well. They've got a lot of food for a cheap price. And we know, as Jamie likes to say, in this economy, that is key. They talked about maybe raising their prices, but they want you and Renee and Brenna and me and everybody to be able to enjoy the bagels and not just have to splurge on the weekend. They're not just not just an artisan mom and pop shop, but they do have a mom and pop shop feel to everyday individuals, and it's why they have so many repeat customers. Great coffee, and it's not $7 like some of those other places. Jamie, I'm looking at you. Stop spending so much money on coffee. Go to Bagels & Co. And that's why I recommend going to Bagels & Co. for the best bagels, the best cream cheese, and the cheap coffee, and a home-style feel. Go to www.thebagelsandco.com/store locator for the closest Bagels & Co. near you today.
You guys got the jokes. I love it. I see you're joking in the chat. CMC's joking. Steve Garrison, I'm with you. I hope the Chiefs go down and the Ravens win. Please knock off the Chiefs. We don't want the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But you know what can also help your finances go down? That's Rocket Money, because Rocket Money does a fantastic job of saving you money. Now, as a personal finance app, the beauty of Rocket Money is they allow you to be able to see all of your spending right on your phone, right on your app, and they can help find and cancel unwanted subscriptions. They monitor your spending. They also help just lower your bills. So over at Rocket Money, where you can see everything in one place, it allows you to get updates and get alerts and get all the news, so that way you know exactly where your money is going every week, every day, so you can manage your spending. And they'll even try to make sure you can get refunds for any wasted money in the past. If you had a subscription you were wasting money on, Rocket Money will work to try to get you a refund for that. So helping to cancel those unwanted subscriptions has helped them help over 5 million users save on average $720 a year. And that's over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. That's a lot of money back in your pockets. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. Again, rocketmoney.com/PHLY. rocketmoney.com/PHLY. Save, save, save. All right, I know I saw in the chat a Rebecca Black Friday comment.
No,
it is Friday.
God, no.
I'm not going to sing the jingle. That's a one-hit wonder for sure. But it's Fridays with Foley. So with that, let's welcome in our own writer, John Foley, who is joining us now. What's up, John? Happy Friday. It's our final Friday of January, guys. I think you're muted still.
Happy Friday indeed. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes. I thought you were actually being silent because you didn't like my joke, and then I realized. But it is the last Friday of January. We're getting closer to spring training, and you and Tyler are actually matching a little bit.
A little bit. I try. Tyler's a stylish guy.
We call each other.
I can keep up.
We get on the phone on my ride in. I'm like, yo, John, what are you wearing today?
I love it. All right, so John, we've talked a lot about rankings, team rankings specifically. First, want to just get your thoughts, and then we'll move on, because we'll let this rock with the current power rankings as it is, especially since it is only January 26th. Right now, for power rankings, the league has the Phillies sitting at number 3. Dodgers are number 1, Braves number 2, Phillies in that 3 spot. Then Yankees, Astros, Rangers at 4, 5, and 6. And then 7 is the Diamondbacks, 8 the Orioles, 9 the Rays, 10 the Twins. I'm curious your thoughts, John, because we're kind of on the side of feeling like, although we love that the Phillies are sitting at number 3, being biased, realistically, this top group outside of the Dodgers and Braves at 1 and 2 could be a little bit tweaked.
I think it could, yeah. I'm an unabashed homer. I'm high on the Phillies. Higher than most, but third is tough. Power rankings are going to do what they do, and they're there to generate conversation, and I get it. But I think what I trust much more are the World Series odds, the people putting their money where their mouth is, and they've got the Phillies. They've got what you would expect: Dodgers in sort of a tier of their own, Braves in that 2 spot. Then you've got Astros, Yankees, Rangers, Phillies, all in sort of their own tier. That you can make a case for any of them to be third, but at least on FanDuel here, you've got Astros, Yankees, Rangers ahead of the Phillies, and I think that sounds about right. I mean, especially the Rangers, you got to show some respect to the champs, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm looking at the win totals. Playing off of your World Series totals just a bit, and they're pretty equivalent to what you were just talking about. The Phillies are 3rd in the National League. Obviously, it's the Dodgers, and they're going to win 7 million games, and then the Braves are going to win like 6,999,000. And then the Phillies are at 90.5, and no other team in the National League is over 90, has over 90 win projected. And in fact, the next closest is the St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs at 85.5, and the Diamondbacks at 84.5, and the Diamondbacks at 83.5. So, John, we were talking about to begin the show. To me, it feels like the National League is better at the top than the American League. but maybe the middle tier teams in the American League kind of balance that out a little bit compared to the National League's middle tier teams.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think you got Dodgers, Braves, and then Phillies and the American League, which is, I think you said it earlier, Tyler, that's not a bad spot to be. Would you put the Phillies, if the Phillies were in the American League, would they be the best team over there? I don't know. They would have a shot to be, sure. I don't think on paper at this point you could put them that high, but it's close. They would be in the mix.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Listen, John, it's been a very emotional week for us here because we said farewell to one of our iconic Phillies, Jock Peterson. But no, in all seriousness, the former Philly of 10 whole minutes, that was Jock Peterson, officially has been signed. There has been real news that broke about Jock Peterson. He's going to our sister station out in Arizona. The Diamondbacks have picked up Jock to a nice contract to help bolster their roster. Jocktober, as some may call him, interesting. What were your thoughts when you finally heard real news about Jock Peterson? When we heard the fake news of him joining the Phillies, nothing, little murmurs about him going to the Blue Jays, and then now he finally is off the board and found a home that's not in Philly.
My first thought was, is it real or is he doing something weird again? But it sounds like it's legit. He's actually going there. Happy for our friends in Arizona, Jesse and those guys. They don't seem particularly excited. I was looking at some of their reaction. Mm-hmm. That's not exactly the player they wanted out there, but I think it's a nice pickup for them, and they're a team that they took the Phillies down in the postseason. The Phillies, who the postseason is supposed to be their specialty, right? And we don't have to recap what happened there, but they took that.
Please
don't.
Out,
and that's a team that's not getting a ton of respect, and I get it. Their season looks a little fluky, but that's another team that should probably be discussed more. I mean, they went to the World Series.
Yeah. So. Yeah, my real question was more about Reese, though. But I wanted to mention Jock because, as you mentioned, he could be a DH for the Diamondbacks, could possibly be an outfielder, but the 10-year vet did find a home. And you did a great piece on Reese that I know people were talking about earlier this week. Wanted to give you a chance to kind of share, what was your highlight? What was the moment? Was even writing that nostalgic for you? It's kind of like it made it official, possibly, to be writing your farewell article around Rhys Hoskins' departure and headed to Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's crazy with Reese. Like, life comes at you fast, right? It feels like just yesterday that he was the new kid. He just came up. He's going on this home run tear. He's getting people excited about baseball again. And I think, for long-time fans, this was your guy.
Yeah.
Sort of, he was the first, Nola too, but sort of the first sign that, okay, we might be, coming back out of the depths of 2014, 2015. There's a lot of, it gets really sentimental and you get really nostalgic just thinking about those days with Reese. And then like the journey, it just felt like he was on the same journey as us, right? That the team was terrible, the fans are unhappy, everybody's not. Reese shows up. He's playing well. The team's still struggling, and then to see him, you talk about a particular moment. That interview he gave after the Phillies finally got back. I think I've posted it twice now on Twitter because it's just, that's exactly the guy we needed to hear right then. It was the same reaction as all of the fans, like, wow, finally we did it. We reached the end of this journey, and. It's the same. There's no spot for him. We all understand that. Bryce wants to play first base. He's going to play first base. You can't put Schwarber out in the field. So it makes sense. But at the same time, very, very bittersweet. And, there was a long period of time there where, Rhys Hoskins at-bats were fun to watch and not much else was.
Yeah, I think that for a lot of people, John, what you just laid out, the sentimentality of the whole thing is probably greater than the overall productivity. Now, that's not to say that Rhys Hoskins was a bad baseball player by any means, because that's not what I want to convey here. But if you think about like the greats amongst Phillies history, you know, it's longevity and it's productivity. And Rhys Hoskins was a very good player, but I don't think if you looked like blindly at numbers, people are going to say he's in the same echelon as like Chase Utley and Jimmy Rollins and Ryan Howard. But I think there is a sentimentality of, like you said, John, between kind of the coming out of the crap era of Phillies baseball, which was an awful stretch of some of the worst baseball that I've ever witnessed in my life, and the large-scale moments, right? The bat spike home run, the like you said, the interview during the World Series, or during the after beating the Astros and getting to the playoffs for the first time in 15 years or whatever it was, 12 years. I wonder if, like, how much does the sentimentality play into the remembrance of Hoskins compared to a player of a similar skill set that wasn't as beloved?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge factor, but you know, those things matter too. It's not all just numbers on a sheet of paper. You know, these players they bring different things. And one thing Rhys brought was just that leadership, that hope. Yeah, you know, I mean, when he came up out of the minors and went on that home run tear, there was nothing like it. Baseball was fun again for the first time in a long time for the Phillies, and that's worth something. That's why I think he's a lock for the Wall of Fame, because it's not all just about numbers, and his numbers were good. I mean, 30 home runs a year, got on base. He would you know, he would work counts, and you know, and he brought a lot of things to the team. And you know, it wasn't just that one interview after they clinched the playoff spot against Houston. He was out there all the time, sort of just, you know, when he goes out and he sort of takes that on, that's less pressure on Bryce, on Castellanos, Schwarber, all the stars. You don't got to worry about going out there and talking to the media, because Rhys had that handled. So important voice in the locker room. You saw it last year, and when he was around, even though he couldn't play, and he's really going to be missed.
Yeah, he definitely is going to be very missed. And I feel like it almost makes it worse, or does make it worse, the fact we didn't get to see him last season, of course, being out with that ACL tear. I know in the chat, someone was mentioning that there's no Bryce here without Rhys. And then the irony, to your point, CMC, is now there's no Rhys with Bryce, because it came full circle. Now that Bryce is locked into first base, there's no spot for Rhys. And we didn't get a chance to see him last year as a true farewell season. Instead, we had an injured Rhys Hoskins that we got to watch, you know, raise the pennant and see from afar. And now the next time we see him play again will not be in a Phillies uniform. So very, very sad. But in Philly, we love the connection of players that have the ability to just bring something out of you. As you were mentioning, Tyler, it's not a hate.
No, it's not a hate.
It's a realistic look at their numbers. If you take their numbers aside, they're not going to be superstar caliber players, but they connect with the fans in a very positive way. And one that does a good job of that, Brandon Marsh. Now, the league's been coming out with their top 10 positional rankings. Some have been, every list has had one or two names that were very questionable. That's what I will say. But for center fielders, it came out, Mike Trout's reign at the top is done. Aaron Judge at the top spot. Julio Rodriguez at number 2. Luis Robert Jr. number 3. Mike Trout number 4. Michael Harris second, number 5. James Outman 6. Byron Buxton 7. Cedric Mullins 8. TJ Friedl number 9. And our very own from Philly, Brandon Marsh as a center fielder cracked the list at number 10. Obviously, we know Brandon Marsh probably will not be the everyday center fielder if Johan Rojas can get good at bats. But this list kind of, John, had me like, okay, interesting, I guess, that Brandon Marsh is considered a top 10 center fielder, and we're not even playing him at center field because our center field is that stacked. And I guess you could say, I don't know, this list just kind of made me like, okay.
Yeah, but Marsh, to the extent you're going to classify him as a center fielder, I think he definitely deserves to be on that list. If you take a look at just the players, if you did a quick stat head search, if you take a look at the players who played at least 100 games in center field last year and sort them by OPS, Marsh is tied for second.
Wild.
Marsh is tied for second with Brandon Nimmo at 829. He had a really great season, I think, a little bit quietly. So I think, some folks are surprised to see him in the top 10. I think you could even move him up higher.
Ooh.
I put him above a few names on that list based on his performance last year. Now, can he replicate it? We'll see. He had some good luck with his average with balls in play. But from the eye test, looked good. He was probably the most consistent hitter, the Phillies' most consistent hitter throughout last season. He didn't have the big hot and cold streaks that a lot of guys in the lineup are prone to. And the overall numbers, 829 OPS. I'll take that every single season.
Guys, I'll be honest with you. I have absolutely no idea how they rank these guys, and I don't mean I don't mean in terms of skill, right? That's the top guys are not debatable in my opinion. I think the top three are exactly correct between Judge, J-Rod, and Luis Robert Jr. But are we strictly going off of offensive prowess?
That's
are we using defensive metrics? Because if you're strictly going off of offensive prowess, then we could have a conversation. If we're talking about defensive metrics, then what about a guy like Kevin Kiermaier who doesn't hit anymore, but is one of the greatest defensive center fielders I've ever seen? So and then on top of that, Brandon Nimmo was ranked a top 10 left fielder because of the fact that he's probably going to move to left field with Harrison Bader coming over, but he played 140 games in center field last year. So I would just like to get a rubric if we could. Go back to your you love the rubrics, Renee.
I do.
I want a rubric of how these guys were graded, because after the top three, I just want to know how this stacked up. Because I have no issue with the top three. They're to me they're the top three, and even an injury-ridden Trout 4 is totally fine for me. Mm-hmm. After that, how do we decide this list?
Yeah, I mean power rankings. There's never an explanation of the criteria, what's going in, how are they selecting these players. They just throw a list out there. You don't know if they put a lot of research into it or if they just did it off the top of their head. And to a certain extent, it's for reaction. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I mean, it's the off season. We're all interested in talking baseball, and sometimes not a lot to talk about. So you rank players and discuss. So it's not a bad thing, but yeah, I don't know if there was a team of researchers, scouring what had to be done there. How's the defense factor in? I don't know. I think they were like, this is pretty close. Let's throw it out there. And if people get outraged that somebody's left off the list, then they'll be sure to let them know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point that you guys bring up, because I know in the chat people are saying the same thing. It's a combination of maybe some rage bait, looking for some clicks, subjectivity. There's a lot of factors that clearly go into these lists, and of course it is only January, and it's kind of I think there's some recency bias. There's some just rewriting the past season, maybe overanalyzing numbers on one side. If you're talking about defensive rankings or positional rankings for fielding, are you including, at-bats and things like that? So lots of question marks, but that's why we enjoy these lists. And that's why we will have our own list that we come up with a rubric, guys. When we have our list, we'll make sure to have a rubric, because the academic in me loves a good old-fashioned rubric.
I take that back. I don't want a rubric anymore.
Okay. All right. Well, John, we're going to let you roll.
I got to be honest. I don't know what that word is.
A rubric? A grading rubric? Criteria of what counts?
I'm learning. I'm new at this whole writer thing, You
didn't have rubrics in school? Remember when you used to have to write essays and they'd have what's a 4? What's a 5? Was I the only one that had that in my school? Brenna?
Rubric.
I don't know. Maybe.
Grading rubrics?
Sure.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Where did you grow up? Okay, well, John, we're going to let you go on that note because you are continuing to do some great work as always. It's been a pleasure having you, and I, am enjoying the articles you're putting out, Tyler's putting out, because there's plenty to still talk about for sure. So thank you so much for joining us for our Fridays with Foley, as always.
Hey, thank you. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
See you, John.
See ya. Be sure to check out all of our articles that we've been putting out that John and Tyler have been writing on our PHLY website. Apparently, nobody knows what a grading rubric is. Like a score, a scoring. What's the word? There's another word for rubric. Like metrics for what. Like what?
No,
gets you?
I know what a rubric is. I just don't recall having it in school.
What? What?
We just got grades.
Yeah, but you used to have
Renee.
a breakdown of what the grades were based on, like especially for writing papers.
Renee, I went to a school where you couldn't get 100.
Well, that's why, because you have a rubric.
You were not allowed to get 100.
It's not a Hallmark movie. Guys, what in the world? Is anybody else in the chat? Did you have rubrics? So when we used to have to write papers, for example,
okay,
you actually had a nice table that would show 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it would show like what the different metrics are that you had to include in your paper to be able to get a 5, which is a 100.
Okay.
Or a 4. Thank you, Lisa. You're a teacher. She's
a teacher.
Thank you, teacher, for joining the chat. Good Lord. Yeah, a criteria of some sort. Like, we need a breakdown of what's the percentage that we're weighing, like how they would weigh your grades. So remember in school, they'd say your homework is X amount of percent and your participation's X amount of percent and your, test or whatever. Like, we need some criteria. Oh my Lord, you guys, killing me here. I thought that was a layup and I bricked it. So apparently nobody else has had criteria except for Lisa and myself. But we're going to have our own criteria for our list of why and how we are ranking players when we rank players.
And
that's all I was trying to say.
Starts with who has the best name, right? That's Jamie's list?
Of course. But you know what else is important to make sure that you're prepared for? Game time. And so when you are looking to buy some tickets for you and your friends, and you want to figure out the easiest way to buy those tickets, you can do so at the Game Time app. It's much easier than having to figure out a criteria or a ranking because over at the Game Time app, they simplify things for you. They give you great prices. They allow you to see where your seats are located. And also, they just make it convenient that when you show up at the door, you don't have to worry about fumbling in your bag for a piece of paper that you printed out or looking on your phone and hope the Wi-Fi works. The Game Time app has your tickets right there. So for sure, make sure that you are downloading the Game Time app, using the code PHLY to be able to get $20 off of your purchase. And that allows you to save on top of your great deals that you're already getting at the Game Time app. So again, download the Game Time app. First-time users use that code PHLY, get $20 off your purchase, and enjoy attending that game, that concert, that comedy show. Apparently, this has become a comedy show. So at the Game Time app, take advantage of that deal. Wow, guys. Wow.
I'm going to tell you about FOCO in just a second, but the reason that I'm sitting here cracking up trying to get off the screen, I'm getting roasted by my father. On text.
For not knowing what a rubric is?
He goes, no, not that. He said the only rubric you ever had was the cube that you couldn't solve. So I need to tell you guys, this is the trust tree, right? I need to tell you something.
I guess. I mean,
so
it's the same
I got
space.
a Rubik's Cube one time for Christmas. I was probably like, I don't know, 10, 9 or 10. So, like the time you'd get you'd get a Rubik's Cube. And I tried it for a really long time and I couldn't figure it out. So my brain doesn't work the way Rubik's Cube's brains need to work.
Okay. There's a method to it.
I'm very much people always say you're very test smart. Taking tests, you're very smart.
Okay.
But logically thinking, not so much.
Okay.
So I got one and I tried it and couldn't figure it out. And one night I got so pissed off at it that I started taking the stickers off and moving them around. But the stickers only go one time and then they start to curl.
Yes, they do. Yes,
and
they
so
do.
You could tell that I was trying to cheat.
I know that because my brother did the same thing.
Yeah, big time.
I feel like there's a lot of people that did that because you were so angry. But I don't know how that feels better. That you cheated and had to move the stickers.
I expected you of everybody to understand and appreciate. You hate losing.
I'm not that kind of a cheater though. I'm a different kind of cheater.
But you hate losing.
I need to bend, and I don't call it cheating. I'm more like bending the rules to be able to mildly adjust it. Wait, here's my very prophetic way.
What stadium am I looking at? I don't know.
I like to bend the rules to mildly tweak the outcome in my favor. And so therefore, I'm going to get really, really articulate to BS this. Mm-hmm. When I do succeed and win, I feel good about it. Moving stickers, I wouldn't feel good about that.
Yeah, well,
but I watch like a YouTube video and try to figure it out or get some help.
All right, so I cheated.
But like, yeah.
All right,
you
so
broke it. You literally broke it.
I cheated. And you ready for the cheesiest segue of all time? The place you don't get cheated is at FOCO. Because it's the leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise. Product line includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items. I wonder if they have Phillies Rubik's Cubes. I want to see if they do. Maybe they might.
Pictures of each player?
And no,
Instead of colors?
No. It's all red. It's one color. That's how I win. It's one color Rubik's Cube. But if they don't have Rubik's Cubes, I'm sure they have other puzzles and toys that you can cheat with. But they do also have the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandom. Now, obviously, our season hasn't started yet, but hockey and basketball are in full swing, so you can show your love of your team with team-branded friendship bracelets. Jose Alvarado started that, by the way. Thank you very much. And whether you get a hoodie, a jacket, beachwear, or the overalls that we are bringing back for the 2024 home opener, there's something for fans for almost every single occasion. FOCO hooked us up with some of this cool stuff that you see behind us, and they have awesome pieces for you as well. FOCO always has your back for Philly sports. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the code PHLY10 for 10% off. Thank you to our friends over at FOCO.
And thank you guys for the endorsement for me to begin my campaign as a politician. I actually used to want to be a lawyer at one point.
Really?
And then I was told I should be a politician. I wouldn't want to be a politician at all because I like to win and politicians do not.
So going back to the beginning,
whatever they put forward, I feel like is an L for someone.
Going back to the beginning of our show and some like hypothetical man saying like they admire your competitiveness. I think you would be a good lawyer.
Oh,
because
like sure.
You don't like losing.
Oh yeah. See, my thing is I like to participate in things where I have a chance of studying, preparing, training, doing something to win. That's why I don't like when we play like Guess That Stance. How am I going to prepare for that? Like, am I going to go study every single player that ever wore a Phillies uniform going back to 2006?
I am going to get you.
There's no method of me to be able to prepare.
I'm going to get you old versions of MLB The Show. And you're just going to have to play. You're going to play a lot.
And then the other thing is, to the points of me cheating, because now everybody's roasting me as being a cheater. I don't cheat a lot because I win a lot. And not to sound cocky, I win a lot. I don't have to cheat. But that's why when I'm struggling to win, then I got to like... My fallback plan is, how can I cheat? Or how can I finesse this?
How can I cheat?
But I don't cheat in things like races or sports because I never had to. But I would cheat. I cheat in a game.
Renee, listen,
like a board game.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
I cheat in a board game. For sure. So
that used to be, like when we were fresh out of college, me and my buddies would go to a bar every Wednesday. Because jobs didn't matter when you're 23.
Sure.
I didn't say that, by the way. So we would just go out and go to trivia and get drinks on a Wednesday evening. But we were young, and we had a group of guys that were like genuinely fairly smart. We're all college educated, and we were all like, we had different skill sets. So like, me, like I'm the sports and stats guy. Like we have my one buddy's music, my one buddy's like movies and video.
Cheated?
And no, so we didn't cheat, but the guy didn't like us. Because we didn't win all the time, but we did fairly well a lot of times. Like we would finish top 5 or whatever. And the guy didn't like us. He thought we were cheating consistently. So we changed our team name to If You Ain't Cheating, You Ain't Trying.
Okay. All right. Well, that's just interesting.
Yeah.
All righty then. Well, you guys are funny. It is the 4th Friday of January. Thank you, Spiral Out. I think you'd be my VP, clearly. Like I'm president, you're vice president in our campaigning, because it is the 4th Friday, because it's also the last Friday, guys. It's the last Friday of January, and I need to confirm with the calendar because I never know what day of the week it is. We are 11 months and like 5 days away from 2025.
What? Renee, we're like 11 minutes from the end of the show. That's the only thing I'm thinking of.
I was always the banker in Monopoly for sure, by the way. Just casually slided some extra cash. All right, yeah, we're 11. 11's the number. We are 11 minutes from the end of our show, and we're 11 months away from 2025.
That's the only 11 that I've got in my head right now.
All right, let's get into Andrew Baker and go down on the farm. Because all month, I guess, is when we started, we've been doing a nice deep dive into prospects. And I bet you they're not cheating, guys. They're not. So today's prospect that we're going to key in on is Andrew Baker. Here is Andrew Baker. 23 years old, 6'3", 190 pounds. In 2023 in AA, 41 appearances, 41 innings pitched, 8.12 ERA, a 2.02 WHIP. His fastball sits between 96 and 98, tops at about 101, 64 strikeouts and 41 innings pitched in 2023, and will be Rule 5 eligible after the 2024 season. Now, Andrew Baker, for everybody that's tuned in, from Alabama, born in Montgomery, Alabama, was drafted in the 11th round as the 325th overall pick back in 2021 from Chipola. Chipola JUCO College is where he attended. Chipolas, which sounds like Chipotle, which is interesting to me. But what the reports have indicated for Andrew Baker, has some of the best raw stuff in the Phillies system, also has some of the best backstories. As a right-hander, has a high-octane heater, a breaking ball that's arguably better. Baker converted, though, from a catcher to a pitcher in junior college. Initially hated it, and then, of course, came around to be a pitcher. There you go. So very interesting. He actually, and I was watching an interview that he did, one last thing on him, where he, when he was 8 or 9 years old, he quit. He was playing baseball. He started pitching when he was 8 or 9 years old, quit when he was 11 due to a head injury. Mm-hmm. He took a line drive off the right side of his temple area.
Can I tell you, that's
blacked
like
out.
that was my biggest fear in sports.
Yeah.
My biggest fear was pitching and catching a liner back on the mound.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
And that's what happened to him. He had to get surgery done. He had an issue. So then he pivoted and became a catcher, was a good catcher, and then pivoted back to being a pitcher again. So interesting, Andrew Baker. His name to me, in honor of Jamie not being here. We got to do the name test, and you've got to put on your Jamie hat. So I mean, what do you think about Andrew Baker as Andrew Baker?
It's kind of bland.
It's extremely bland.
Kind of bland. If I have to do this, put my Jamie hat on, it's kind of bland. Like, he could be a pitcher. He could work at PNC.
I actually feel like I know an Andrew Baker. I do know an Andrew Baker. I went to school with an Andrew.
See, there you go. It's a pretty bland.
Was it Andrew Baker? Was his first name Andrew?
It's
just a very common. Andrew Baker, super common. His initials are AB. Actually, Andrew Fleming Baker.
Okay.
I like Fleming actually better.
Andrew Fleming probably has a little bit more baseball bite to it. Not much, but a little bit.
Or even, I don't like Fleming Baker, but Andrew Fleming sounds a little bit better than Andrew Baker.
It's funny that you bring up that he's from Montgomery, because he is Rule 5 eligible, which means that obviously if a team takes him in the Rule 5 draft, he's got to be on their major league roster. But this guy just screams Montgomery Biscuit. Because that's the AA affiliate of the Rays, and the Rays love guys that they can like hyper fixate on and make better than what they should be. Because Renee, I don't mean to be a jerk, but I don't think I can sugarcoat this any more than I'm about to. This guy stinks. Like, this guy has a massive control problem. And listen, I would rather have a guy that can throw hard and you have to teach command than the inverse. Because teaching velocity is nearly impossible to do. It's not impossible. It's much, much harder than to teach control. But, like, this guy had a 2 whip in 40. A 2? You're telling me in 41 innings pitched, this guy allowed 83 base runners? Renee, like, granted, he's stranded, and that's the thing, is like, he's stranded 59% of them, so he allowed a ton of them to score with his 8.12 ERA. Like, Renee, I don't know how to be nice about this guy other than he's a flamethrower, and the stuff is there.
So here's the positives. He's always probably in the front of the line in alphabetical order, first or last name.
That's fair.
Andrew Baker, you're guaranteed. I was always at the end as Renee Washington.
Oh, believe me, I am last.
At the end. Oh, yeah.
I am last.
No.
I am the last.
Not me complaining about RW and your TZ.
Last.
Okay, so
even in my family, I'm last.
He's first. There's a positive. He looks like a baseball player. Like, when I looked at his picture, the first thing I was like, oh, like he gives an athlete vibe. I could see him playing a sport. That could be anything. He could be playing rugby. He could be playing baseball. He could be playing golf. I don't know what that sport is, but he looks like an athlete. And then some other reports that did come out, it actually is pretty spot on with, I feel like, the numbers. So an interesting path the last few years, very inconsistent. he bounced around a little bit. So he was drafted out of Chipola, which is a JUCO, drafted by the Dodgers, opted to not sign, instead went to Auburn. He made 6 relief appearances and struggled to a whopping 9.53 ERA in the shortened 2020 season. Then bounced back to Chipola, which I'm probably saying wrong, but I feel like it's either Chipola or Chipola, and I'm gonna go Chipola, like okay. Chipotle. If I'm wrong, I apologize, Chipola people. So he went back to Chipola, where he once again showed some impressive stuff at that point. Below average control, though. So he sat in, as we mentioned, that 92, 94 range in the spring. His fastball went up to 96, and then just had inconsistency. His changeup was infrequent. He pitched a 3.45 ERA over 57.1 innings at that stretch with 92 strikeouts and 34 walks. And that was before he was a South Carolina commit and then went on from there. So the overall arcing theme that we've heard from him is inconsistency, has potential, but not good numbers, which is pretty common for what I feel like we catch from all prospects.
And MBD puts, quote, "This guy stinks" is my favorite analysis. Let me rephrase. Currently, this guy stinks.
Good point.
Let me rephrase that. This guy has a 70 fastball, a 60 slider, a 60 curveball. When you have 3 pitches that are 60 out of 80 or better on the prospect scale, you're doing something right. Like, the stuff is unequivocally there. It's filthy slider. It's filthy curveball. It's like Jose Alvarado blow you away fastball. But let me read you this sentence from Fangraphs.
Oh, no.
This comes from Fangraphs. Baker, who began throwing 2 ticks harder in 2022, meaning that his velocity went from 99 to topping out at 101, scatters pitch locations like dandelion seeds.
That's not good.
So here's the thing. You can throw like as hard as you possibly want. We're going to get to a point very soon in baseball where we see 105, 106.
Yeah.
And that is terrifying to me. But the guys that are in Major League Baseball throwing 104, the guys that stick, have some semblance of command. Because think about Jose Alvarado. When the command wasn't there, he got sent to AAA. He came back, the command got much better. Jordan Hicks struggled with command at the beginning of his career. It's why the Cardinals bumped him out of being a starter, moved him to the bullpen, and he started to flourish. We'll see what happens in San Francisco, because I have no idea if this guy can be a starter or not again. Aroldis Chapman struggled with command in Cincinnati, but when he was around the strike zone, he was unhittable. So my point is, you don't have to have Greg Maddox command when you throw 105.
Right.
But you got to be somewhere in the vicinity to be on a major league roster. So to me, this guy screams like AA star because guys are unable to hit him and nothing. And I say AA star, but he posted an 8 ERA last year. Like, I don't know what this kid is. This kid looks to me like he's going to go down to Wildwood and throw 100 on the baseball thing and like blow people's minds that he throws 100. But like, this kid's Happy Gilmore.
Oh,
This kid is literally baseball Happy Gilmore. Like, the shot is insane, but he might break the glass.
Yeah.
It's a good thing they put nets behind the catcher.
So overarching theme, we'll see. That's basically what we got.
I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
Potential to be good, potential to not be good, and we will see, because the numbers are not great, but the potential with every prospect has been there, apparently. So yeah, it's very interesting. Now, as we get ready to wrap up, because we are nearing the end of the hour, Tyler.
Sorry, I do have one more thing to say.
So it's not me.
It's me.
You.
It's me today. I have one more thing to say.
It's never me.
I have one more thing to say on Andrew Baker.
Okay.
You talk about the potential. If he gets to like 60% of his potential, he's a back end of the bullpen major league pitcher.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't need to get to 100%. Like, that his stuff plays so much that like that's get me to 60% and you win.
Just something.
But if you're at 12%, it's not happening.
Not so great. Not so great at all. Well, yep, in the chat, Lisa, definitely when he gets sent to Reading, you'll check him out. Maybe there are some other teams that will take him. I know.
Oh, he'll be at Reading next year.
Well, yeah, for sure. We'll keep an eye on Mr. Baker.
He is a Rule 5 eligible player, like we said, though. So, like, the Phillies are going to have to make a decision on him soon.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be stunned if a bad small market team picks him up in in the Rule 5 next year and just see what you got.
And that's fine.
Go
ahead.
Go out
Please
there.
Go. I encourage that for Andrew Baker. I think it's a great opportunity. Go out there, see what you can do. Best of luck to you. It's been nice. It's been nice getting to know you. All right, as we wrap up though, Tyler, you've got the positivity today. And I think it's great you've got the positivity on this National Fun Day at work because you could use a little more fun.
I could, you're right.
And I think, first of all, it's also great you have it the day you're on the show, which makes it even better.
Yeah.
But also after your soapbox about Andrew Baker, I feel like it's time
I'm down.
to shift into some positivity. So again, every day we've been doing our positivity for the day. This, I don't know what number we're at now because Jamie keeps track of it. So we're in the double digits.
Teens.
So.
Somewhere
we're
in the teens.
Sure. I think we're like 16 or 17. What is your daily positivity for the day?
All right, so we have pretty much carved up the Phillies schedule every which way that we possibly can.
Beginning, the end.
So let's talk about other team schedules.
Ooh.
And let's go to the back end of 4 teams in particular that I think are going to be wild card contenders. I don't know if, obviously, not all 4 of these teams are going to make the playoffs.
Tyler.
But the 4
yes,
teams,
you do.
No. I don't think these 4 teams can't all make the playoffs. It's not possible.
I mean,
unless one of them wins their division that we don't expect.
Okay.
But the Arizona Diamondbacks, who went to the World Series last year, probably going to be a wild card contender because the Dodgers are going to win the NL West.
Yeah, you're not beating them.
Same thing to be said about the San Diego Padres. I think even losing Blake Snell, they can't be as bad as they were last year. I just don't believe that the talent that they've constructed is as bad as they were last year. The Milwaukee Brewers could win the Central, but if they don't, they should be a wild card contender. And a team that made the wild card last year is the upstart Miami Marlins.
Right.
Those 4 teams, here's just a brief look at their Septembers. Arizona has a series with the Dodgers. They go to Houston, a series with Texas, a series with the Brewers. They go to Milwaukee to play the Brewers, and a series with the Padres. The Padres have a series with the Rays. They go to Seattle, a series with the Astros. They go to LA, and then they go to the Diamondbacks. Now, some of these, they're going to play each other. This kind of even further proves my point because somebody's going to lose those games. Milwaukee has a series with the Reds, series with the Cardinals. They go to Arizona, a series with the Phillies, and they host Arizona. The Marlins have a series with the Phillies. They have a series with the Dodgers. They have a series with the Braves. They go to Minnesota, and they go to Toronto. I think every team that I just named that those 4 teams are playing have legitimate playoff aspirations.
Right, and they're playing
every single one of those teams have at least more than difficult Septembers.
Definitely.
Now, granted, you're throwing Pittsburgh in there, you're throwing Washington in there, the Giants are in there, but the point being is the Phillies could find themselves creating separation by handling business and beating the Marlins. And beating teams that they're supposed to beat down the stretch, while the rest of these teams have to either go through each other or go through a gauntlet.
I like it because it builds off of mine yesterday.
And NBD says the Padres over-under is 81.5. I think that's too low.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I don't think that they're a 95-win team or a 90-win team, but I think with the expanded wild card, if you get to 85 or you're closing in on 85, you're going to be in contention down the stretch for a wild card spot.
Yeah. And that's a great point because I know, teams like Arizona, who in the chat, Jim's mentioning, who didn't believe in Arizona last year and still don't. They're going to have a really tough end to the season where they're similar to this year, all clawing for those final wild card spots.
Sure.
And that perfectly ties into mine yesterday because the Phillies actually have a lighter end of the season schedule. Now, we know notoriously in Philly, having a nice, easy end of the regular season doesn't mean a thing, Eagles. But it could be and should be smooth sailing through September and even the ends of August for the Phillies because on the other side, as we talked about yesterday, they're playing Miami, Toronto, Tampa Bay, the Mets, Milwaukee. They've got the Mets twice, actually, Chicago, the Nationals. It should be in the ends of the season a time where they're playing teams. Once they get done the Dodgers and the Braves in August, and even the Diamondbacks, where the series to close out the season are a lot easier in that sense. So I like it. Okay, and we got to start getting creative because we're
pulling at straws here at this
point. Getting difficult here. The other thing I want to just quickly touch on as we wrap up for the weekend is the fact that we saw some interesting things come out of Ronald Acuna Jr.'s Instagram story, and Tyler actually found this, but Ronald Acuna Jr. posted to his Instagram story an image, just kind of a behind the scenes look of him, and it's giving MLB 24 cover photo shoot because of the vibes of it. Now, in his story, he actually has the caption, and it reads, "En cualquier momento la historia es otra," with exclamation marks. Do you know what that means, Tyler?
Nope.
I had to write it down because I knew what it means, but I had to double check it. So that actually means...
I did take 5 years of Spanish, and no, I have no idea what you're saying.
It just means that any time the story is different.
Okay.
It just sounds better in Spanish, but it actually just means that any time the story is different. But it has people speculating that Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be on the cover of MLB's The Show 2024. There's been some historic names. I'm actually trying to pull up the list now. Even dating back to Ken Griffey Jr. in 2017.
Yep.
There's been Aaron Judge in 2018. Bryce Harper, of course, 2019.
Oh, you don't have to
I'm not going through the whole list.
You don't
guys.
have to go through the list. I have almost every one of these. Javi Baez was in 2020, and then 2021. So 22 was...
What do you have as 2021?
Hold on, I have to do this backwards because I didn't have 21. 22 was 21 was Aaron Judge, or no, that was
He was 18.
18. So 22 then was 23 was Shohei Ohtani, which means 22. No, 23 was Jazz Chisholm. 22 was Shohei Ohtani.
Which means 21 was
21 was
Los Padres. Padres.
Oh, it was Fernando Tatis.
Bingo. Good job.
I have almost every one of these games. I'm a sucker for, like, I tell myself every year I'm not buying these, and then I buy them.
So you buy them. Jazz was last year. I know CMC saying last year's game wasn't that good.
Last year's game wasn't very good. It was like, and the problem is, sorry to go off on a tangent.
No, because I didn't play the game, so you know firsthand.
These games are getting too microtransaction, and like, so to me, like, I'd rather do franchise mode, and like, I would rather do franchise mode, or like, me and you have the game and I play you.
Yeah.
I don't like the ultimate teams, which is like the card. You open the packs and you play with the cards, the players on the cards. I don't like that. I would rather just like, you pick a team, I pick a team, we see who's better. Mm-hmm. And then like, if you're significantly better than me, I go, okay, you have to pick a team that had a losing record. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like the card game.
I get that, because when I used to play back in my day, I would always just put together super teams.
Yeah, see, that's no fun.
Or I would either be super teams, if depending on the day, or I would pick my favorite team, of course, and play as them.
See, what I do is I do franchise mode, and I take some of the worst teams,
do you
and
like
I rebuild them. No, well, there is a road to the show segment that you can do, but I do the 2022. I took the Reds and like made them a dynasty. Oh, so like that's what I did.
I did always enjoy building up my own player and putting them through the whole process.
Right.
Of like, and it would be me, of course. You know, I'd be in the game, as we always do. But it does make you wonder, Tyler, was Ronald Acuna Jr. just teasing a little bit that he's going to be the name? Because as we talked about off the show beforehand, with Shohei Ohtani already having been the cover, this year would be a great year marketing-wise for him to be the cover.
Yes.
In a Dodgers uniform.
Correct.
Everybody's in the Shohei Ohtani train right now. So that would make sense. But other than him, because Aaron Judge has already been one, I mean, Mookie,
and there's a handful of players,
you know,
that
who
are,
else? So I think it makes sense.
There's a handful of players that can't be on the cover. Like, for example, Julio Rodriguez would make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Young, fun player to watch, and the kid's freaking good at baseball. And it would give you a West Coast market. But he has a contract with EA, which is like the direct competitor of what MLB The Show produces. So there's certain guys that just like can't be on it. Ronald Acuna makes so much sense this year. So much sense. I mean, he wins the MVP. He's so much fun to watch. Like, I say this as a Phillies fan. I love watching Ronald Acuna play baseball. I love watching the guy play baseball.
As a sports fan, yes, he's definitely fun to watch. And for that and already has the expectations that this should be the year. The Braves should be able to get past the hump of the Phillies. I'm just saying that's what other people are saying, of course. This should be a year he could even run it back and be an MVP again. Yeah. So for Ronald Acuna Jr., who right now is one of the faces of the league, I think it makes complete sense.
And MLB The Show has done a really good job over the last couple of years of picking not just good players, but like guys that are cool.
Like a Jazz Chisholm.
Yeah, like marketability is a huge...
Sure.
Like, baseball has struggled with marketability for so long, and now you've got Jazz Chisholm on the cover, who's just objectively cool. Yeah. Shohei Ohtani, who is the international superstar.
Well, I was going to say, even from a standpoint of the diversity...
Javi Baez with the Cubs was really cool.
I was going to say...
Javi Baez with the rest of his career... the Tigers and the Mets, not so much. But like they've done a pretty good job of picking guys that not only are good players, but they're marketable stars.
So I was gonna say that I think a big part of this is it's not just about who's the best. First of all, every year it's obviously a different team. They're not duplicating.
The last time it was the same.
So each
team
club gets
or
an
player
opportunity.
was 10 and 11 was Joe Mauer.
Right, and then also you are getting even diversity. You're getting every cover athlete looks completely different. From Ken Griffey to Aaron to Bryce to, as you go to Fernando, everybody looks different and represents a different market. And so I do feel like for that reason, as they're trying to connect fans with baseball players as a household name, knowing who they are, their cool, edgy covers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see
makes
it.
a ton of sense.
I could see it. But I wouldn't be, I don't know what else that would be for. And I wouldn't be surprised if this year they throw Shoei back in there because everybody is like, it's the Messi effect. Like Messi was on everything, and is on everything in soccer. And I wouldn't be surprised if, as a way to capitalize on the Dodgers,
he'll be back on it.
He will be back on it, and it should be. If anything, if they're going to have him back on a second time, it should be next season.
Correct.
In my opinion, when he's returning to pitch and everything. But we'll see.
Top 5 video baseball games of all time. CMC.
Oh.
There are 2 at the top of the list, and everything else is secondary. Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball and MVP Baseball 2005 are the definitive 2 best baseball games to ever exist, and you can argue with the wall.
And then backyard baseball and Wii baseball. I'm just kidding. But I did used to play those.
Those 2. Backyard baseball probably is in the top 5.
Backyard baseball was my game.
But it's 1 and 2 and then 50 feet.
Like classic for sure. All right. Well, Tyler, this has been fun. I've enjoyed our National Fun at Work Day. I've been having fun at work.
This was a good time.
This has been fun.
And of course, we went over the time limit.
But we haven't. Yeah, we did. 12 minutes over is on par. So that's on brand for how we do. I hope you guys have a great final Friday of January 2024. But in all seriousness, we appreciate you so much for joining us today on the show. Last time we heard from Jamie, he was still sitting on the tarmac.
Yeah, I texted
waiting.
him like 40 minutes ago. He hadn't moved.
So hopefully by now, since we haven't heard from him, he's in the air flying down to Florida for tea time. And with that, we appreciate Brenna Haupt for stepping in as producer today, who's normally on the Flyer Show. I had to think about it for a second. On the Flyer Show, Tyler Zulli, myself, Renee Washington, saying have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you back on Monday for more live PHLY Phillies podcast at noon.
See ya.
See you then.
We all silly like the mayor.